Killer dad Chris Watts murders his pregnant wife Shannan and their unborn baby boy Nico and both of his little girls Bella and Celeste tonight. Bombshell. Chris Watts' secret prison bride, who is marrying family annihilator Chris Watts. And to just top it off, steamy makeout set.
A man who strangled his pregnant wife, suffocated his 2 little girls, and shoved their bodies into oil tank has found love behind bars. And not just any love. A prison bride who moved across the country to be with him, changed her last name to his, and now shares what witnesses describe as steamy makeout sessions during visiting hours. The same hands that took 4 lives are now holding a Bible with a woman who believes she can save him. Before we go deeper into what the evidence actually shows, make sure you're subscribed to Crime Nest Media, because we don't just cover the story, we follow the facts. Picture this: a maximum security prison visiting room, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, guards watching from every corner. And there, at a metal table, sits one of the most hated men in America.
This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us.
Chris Watts, the family annihilator who murdered his pregnant wife Shannan and their unborn son Nico, along with his 4-year-old daughter Bella and 3-year-old daughter Celeste. Across from him sits a 39-year-old woman named Lizzy Henderson, a real estate agent who packed up her entire life in Cleveland, Ohio, and relocated to Wisconsin just to be closer to him.
She sure is mysterious, Nancy. So her name is Lizzy Henderson, and what we know about her is that she's a 39-year-old realtor. She was living in Cleveland, Ohio, just doing multiple jobs, and she basically was in a lot of different relationships with, it seemed like, older men. Nothing seemed to ever, she never got married. She was pretty much living a single life. And we don't really know how she met Chris, but they've been together for, we could say with certainty, since 2024. And she basically picked up and moved from Cleveland.
Witnesses say they read the Bible together, prayed together, and when it was time to say goodbye, they didn't just shake hands. They kissed. For longer than the permitted 8 seconds. They hugged. They held each other. They made out, according to multiple witnesses, while guards looked the other way.
So when she was in the visiting room and she saw Chris Watts, she saw them. They're not allowed to have any physical touch during the actual visit. All they can really do is talk and hold the Bible and pray. But when it was time she arrived and when she left, they were literally hugging and making out and kissing. They were literally all over each other. And then they got to take a picture together. I don't know, he pays for it out of his commissary. It's like $1.25.
And that is just the beginning of a story that forces us to ask a question that has no easy answer. She legally changed her name to Lizzy Watts.
Nancy is right, friends. It is happening. Apparently they did get married somehow. We attempted to get those records. And what we were getting some pushback from, I guess, the officials in Wisconsin, because unless I was next of kin, they wouldn't release any information about what officially went down with Lizzy Henderson and Chris Watts. But what we know is that she was wearing a wedding band, a wedding ring. She legally changed her name to Lizzy.
She wears a wedding band. And some investigators are now asking whether that ring once belonged to the woman he murdered.
Those Shannan's wedding rings that Lizzy is wearing?
Oh, dear Lord in heaven. Okay, Ruth Bashinsky. These are shots from the Daily Mail, and with us is Ruth Bashinsky, who broke the story, the investigative crime.
This is not a love story. This is a psychological puzzle wrapped in a crime so brutal it defies comprehension. May 20th, 2024. Chris Watts has been incarcerated for years at the Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin, serving multiple life sentences with no possibility of parole. He confessed to strangling Shannan in their Colorado home after she returned from a business trip. He admitted to smothering Bella and Celeste, then driving their bodies to the oil field where he worked and shoving them through 8-inch openings into crude oil tanks.
Chris Watts strangled Shannan, who was pregnant with their son Nico. After strangling her, Chris Watts suffocated his little girls, Bella, who was only 4, and Cece, who was 3. Then, after suffocating these precious children, he shoved them through an 8-inch hole into a crude oil container where he worked, leaving marks on their little heads from shoving them through the holes into those.
He buried Shannan in a shallow grave, and when her body was discovered, the decomposition gases had caused coffin birth, expelling baby Nico from her womb.
So it's the older one. Bella has oil in her. Let me see what the autopsy report exactly says, but she has oil in her stomach contents. And she also, on her toxicology, showed hydrocarbons and oxygenated volatiles, which would be associated with the oil drum itself. So to me, it looks like she could have been alive. Like he smothered her. There's bruising on the frenula and on the gum line, but she was passed out, and then he shoves her through the oil drum, causing the abrasions on her body. And then she may have woken up once in the oil drum and then drowned essentially in oil. Because you shouldn't have a positive toxicology result if you were dead, because it wouldn't be able to circulate into your body. And also, when you compare the two, Bella to Celeste, the younger child, Celeste, does not have any oil in her stomach. So she's probably dead when she goes in, whereas the older child, who obviously fought back because she's bit her cheek, she's got damage of.
He did all of that, and still women write to him. Still, they fall in love with him. Sherilyn Cadell, who has written extensively about the case.
These murder matchups behind bars are very hard for me to understand. Why do women marry men who murder? Why, with all the men in the world, would anyone ever marry a murderer?
It feels wonderful. I'm so happy. I'm so thrilled, very proud, and a little relieved that
told investigators that Lizzy actually reached out to her in early 2024, wanting to know what she thought about the relationship. Cadell was honest. She told Lizzy exactly what she thought. And Lizzy responded by cursing her out and telling her she was totally wrong. She wanted to believe in him. She needed to believe in him. But here is where the story takes an even stranger turn. According to court records and bankruptcy filings uncovered by content creators, Lizzy filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy just before leaving Ohio for Wisconsin.
Lizzy filed a Chapter 7 bankruptcy before moving from Ohio.
Financial desperation, combined with what psychologist Dr. Geraldine Utter describes as the halo effect, the tendency to associate positive traits with physically attractive people, may have created the perfect storm. Women who marry convicted killers often believe they can see the good man underneath. They convince themselves that they are the one who can save him, that the monster everyone else sees is not the real person. They get a version of him that no one else gets. The version that isn't choking anyone. The version that reads scripture and talks about God. The version that makes them feel special.
Has received that information and she knows, but what she's saying and what her own psyche's doing is she's thinking, well, I can get to the good man underneath. Like, I know that there's a good guy there, and I'm the one, me, Lizzy, I'm the one who has helped bring that out. And this relationship's going to be.
You're not dealing with someone normal. That phrase, repeated by witnesses and experts alike, captures the essence of this entire saga. How can a woman move across the country to marry a man who did what Chris Watts did? How can she look at the photographs of Bella and Celeste, those two little girls who begged for their lives, and still choose him? How can she wear a ring that might have belonged to the woman he strangled? The prison system allows visits. It allows marriage. In Wisconsin, inmates are permitted 8 to 10 seconds of physical contact when a visitor arrives and when they leave.
Nancy, In Wisconsin, in this prison, each inmate is allowed 8 to 10 seconds of physical contact with their visitor when the person arrives and when they leave. But for anybody who's familiar with how the prison system works and are witnesses in there that saw the makeout session, it can go much longer than the 8 to 10 seconds. Once you allow touching, it goes as far as they can possibly take it. And that's what apparently is happening. Guards just turn the other way.
But witnesses have confirmed that what happened between Chris and Lizzy went far beyond that. Guards turned the other way. The makeout sessions happened. The photos were taken. And now, she is his wife, Ruth Bashinsky, the investigative reporter who broke this story for the Daily Mail.
Is it?
So Nancy, I found this woman. She actually was visiting a loved one at the Dodge Correctional facility where Chris is staying in for the rest of his life. And she was actually in shock because Chris was a few feet away from her. She was with her person, just having a snack. The next thing she knows, she turns around and sees Chris Watts with this woman. They were reading the Bible together. She was kind of having like a silent freak out, like turning around going, does anyone see what I'm seeing? This is Chris Watts. He killed his wife and unborn son and 2 little daughters. And she was kind of having like a moment, and she walked closer to him so she can see his name tag that said Chris Watts. And she told me that she so wanted to say to him, you're my hero, Daddy.
Spoke to a woman who witnessed one of these visits firsthand. The witness was visiting her own loved one at the facility when she turned around and saw Chris Watts just a few feet away. She watched as he and Lizzy read the Bible together. She watched them pray. And when the visit ended, she watched them kiss. The witness told Bashinsky that she wanted to say something. She wanted to scream. But she knew she would be thrown out. So she just watched, horrified, as one of the most notorious killers in America kissed his new bride. There were reports that Chris and Lizzy even took a prison photo together, a $125 commemorative photograph paid for from Chris's commissary account. And when Bashinsky reached out to Lizzy for comment, she was met with anger. Lizzy didn't want to be in the public eye. She said her relationship with Chris was between him, and God. She said people could perceive it as strange, but she didn't care. She was defensive. She was protective. She was, by all accounts, completely committed to a man who will never walk free. Which brings us to the question that haunts this entire story. What does it say about us that we can't stop watching? The phenomenon of prison brides is not new. Ted Bundy had his Carol Ann Boone. Richard Ramirez had his Doreen Lioy. Charles Manson had his followers. But Chris Watts is different. He didn't just kill strangers. He killed his own family, his pregnant wife, his unborn son, his 4-year-old daughter who recorded a video saying,
"My daddy is a hero. He helps me grow up strong. He helped me snuggle too. He reads me books. He ties my shoes. If you're a hero."
My daddy is a hero. His 3-year-old daughter who never got to grow up. And still, women line up to write to him. Still, they fall in love with him. You're not dealing with someone normal. The public records in this case are extensive. The Kalamazoo County Circuit Court filings, the body cam footage from the original investigation, and the Wisconsin Department of Corrections visitor logs are all available through public records requests. But here is what we know for certain. Chris Watts is serving life in prison. He will never leave. Lizzy Henderson is now Lizzy Watts. She will continue visiting him. And somewhere in that prison, they will keep reading the Bible together. They will keep praying. And when the visit ends, they will hold each other for as long as the guards allow. And so, the question remains, is it love? Is it desperation? Is it something else entirely? Read the court documents. Watch the body cam footage. Look at the photographs of those little girls. And then ask yourself what you would say to a woman who chose to marry their killer. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications for CrimeNest Media because we don't just cover the story. We follow the facts. And the facts, in this case, are more disturbing than fiction. You're not dealing with someone normal. And neither is she.